Hello, everyone. Here we are again for the entrepreneurial insights, which I have, if you've noticed in the title, added the NLP before the title of what I'm doing here every Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Central Time, 11:11 a.m. Pacific time, for the very reason that, well, for many of you who watch this live and know me, I am an NLP entrepreneur. I am a trainer of NLP through the ITA and the NLP Academy in England. And so the reason why I have decided to focus in on NLP in these lives is, number one, I was asked to. Several of you have asked me, Jackie, how do you use NLP in your business? So that was one of the reasons. And the second reason is that I think it's absolutely critical that entrepreneurs know NLP, as there are so many aspects of the field that are applicable to being successful, whether it's just, the very nature of being an entrepreneur, which means you have to show up, you have to be vulnerable and expose sometimes that delicate, raw part of yourself, because as especially solo entrepreneurs, there's nothing to hide behind. So that was my part of my reasoning. And now last week I was not live. I actually wasn't feeling well, and so I purposely decided not to go live. But here I am today. It's February 24th. I hope that some of you will be hopping on here. It's going to be a shorter video today, so I hope that works for you. As something came up in the last couple of days when I was doing my morning rituals, I have a holistic morning rituals that I do just about every morning. That, and I think it goes back to how I was feeling last week, that there was a practice that I do on a regular basis that I hadn't really been focusing in on, and that I've been, if you will, ignoring for quite some time. And I thought, who else might be feeling this way? That, this sense of being aware and alert to what's going on with us as, again, as an entrepreneur. It doesn't have to be that you're an entrepreneur, by the way, in order for this to apply to you. Yes, hello, Adeline. It's so good to see you here. Oh my gosh. I know that you can relate to some of this as well, Adeline, being that you are in the Authentic Life Mastery program. And we did talk about it on our mastermind call yesterday. And it's this, so the title of this presentation today is, the practices that successful entrepreneurs really need to focus in on and get very good at in order to be successful for the long term. And I'm really wanting to hone in on and presencing that many of you who are entrepreneurs have, maybe jobs already, and you're doing your entrepreneurial work in the evenings, on the weekends, or when you're not working for your other, in your career. And some of you are in the process of making that transition out of a career or an employment situation and wanting to have your own business. And some of you are already in business full-time, have been in business full-time for some amount of time. And maybe you haven't yet reached that level of success that you'd like. And that usually happens at around 18 months, 24 months, that entrepreneurs start looking at where they are, and they've either made it and everything's going well, or they're not. And so that's usually what happens. Or you may be in business 5-10 years, and you're looking at making that next step, stepping into that next level. And some of the same sort of things that occurred when you started your business sometimes start to surface. And that's where I'm at right now. My business is 13 years on. And what I noticed lately is the practice that I had really gotten really disciplined at doing started to fall off in terms of priority. Now, I'm not here to talk about the reasons why that is. I would say it could be distractions. It could be that we're in this pandemic and there's so many other things that have taken priority that I didn't plan on having taken priority. But I'm not here to talk about the distractions. That actually could be a whole new webinar. But I am here to talk about this practice that I've noticed for myself has started to wane. And before I get into that, I wanted to also presence, and Adeline, you're here to say that one of the philosophies, if you will, of NLP is that in order for NLP to really work, it requires practice. And we have a saying that, during the training course, it's really important to practice. And we give experiences during the training to have lots and lots of practice. In the evenings, to do some practice. And when you go home, to practice. And, 6 months later, to practice. And when you have a little bit more time, some more practice. It's like anything that you want to actually get really good at doing requires practice, whether it's cooking, any athletic ability, any hobby or craft, sewing, practice. Yes, Adeline. And that is why I have reinstated the Holistic NLP Cafe, which is one of the things that I started about 6-7 years ago, because for me, the whole concept of practice was very clear. I understood the importance of it. However, it requires having people. NLP is not something that is in a book that you can take off a shelf and read and apply effectively. There's a little bit of applicability when it comes to some of the models in terms of the language models, the linguistic models for selling, etc. But I would say for the most part, it requires interacting with people, applying the practices and strategies and concepts and processes with individuals, with human beings, as NLP is really an endeavor of modeling excellence amongst, the relationships with other humans or other living creatures, if you will. And that means getting in the company of other people. So I started the NLP Cafe, and it got really, really successful. We had over 50 events live here in Winnipeg, and we had people from all over the world attending. And then I just reached a point where the business got really busy, so we suspended the live events and did some other things, offered some training courses, and then the pandemic came last year, we're just about at 1 year, possibly a little bit over, or getting very close to that. So at the end of 2020, when I was doing about every quarter, as many entrepreneurs, some of you know what I mean, do. Some people do it every month, some every quarter. I was reviewing, where have I come this year, 2020, what's left in the year, what do I want for 2021, what's missing is a big question I ask. The NLP Cafe came up again. So I've reinstated the NLP Cafe. It's called the Holistic NLP Cafe. With great success. We've had some wonderful events so far, and we are hosting another one coming up March 9th at 2 p.m. Central Time, and that is 12 noon Pacific, 1 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Eastern, I believe 8 p.m. London, and parts of Europe, and on and on and on. You can figure out the time zone. So 2 p.m. Central, March 9th. And so now we're online, anyone can attend. So I wanted to mention that, and I will be posting the link in the chat so that you can register for that. Many of you are already connected with me on Facebook, etc., and those links are in the post as well. And I encourage you to join us as, in particular for what I'm talking about today. So the one practice that all entrepreneurs that I know of successful. And I would say successful people in pretty much any endeavor, but we're honing in on, the entrepreneurial business and why this is so important, is noticing. So this very word, if you just anchor it in, write it out. It may be a word you're familiar with. It may be a word you obviously have heard of the word of noticing. But it's a different take on the concept of self-awareness or the practice of self-awareness. Why? Because it's a verb, it's an act, it's an action of noticing is meaning you're actually doing something, whereas self-awareness is a term to describe something. So it's a little difficult to grasp if you're wanting to remember these processes, these things that you can do in your life. So I use the word noticing. And what is it that I want you to be focusing on noticing is your body. Now I could say, that's it, just your body. Easier said than done. Sounds simple, not so easy. Your body is operating unconsciously 24/7. Whether we know it or not. And when I say whether we know it, I'm referring to the part of our brain that has the capacity to know things, right? So in theory, we may know that our body is operating 24/7. It's not rocket science. The blood is flowing, the oxygen is being taken in by the lungs, all the organs are functioning, yada, 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 right? So in theory, we understand that. However, in practice, it's the one thing that I find is not as easy to remember. And the only way to remember it in practice is by feeling it. That's it. There's a sensation that your body will be giving you to give you a signal to pay attention. That's it. Now, what are some of those things that the body wants you to pay attention to? Well, they could be very simple ones that we could go through a very simple checklist of feeling hungry, feeling tired, feeling any kind of sensation of stiffness or pain from sitting in a position. So those kind of signals generally are ones we're familiar with. We've received them all of our lives. A baby knows when it's hungry and it will cry. So babies are very good at noticing sensations and they will immediately respond. We notice when we're cold. We notice when we're hot. Not necessarily initially. It does sometimes take a little bit of time for that to build, except for here in Winnipeg, where we are in a nice warm environment until we open the door and then feel the temperatures coming very quickly. And that's kind of a metaphor for what I want you to remember from this call, is that your body is like opening up that door on a frigid, fresh, if you will, cold day, where you feel that rush of cold air against your warm body. So this sensation that's coming from your body is a signal. Now, in NLP, we refer to this body sensation, this signal, as an SOS signal, a spontaneously occurring signal. As it's spontaneous and it's delivered by the unconscious part of you, the part of you that is running all of the processes under the radar. So if you're living from your chin up, primarily in your head, analyzing your day, checking your to-do list, having many conversations from this place of the conscious awareness place of yourself, it's going to be all your focus, all your attention, all your energy is going to be in the chin up. I like to use the metaphor of the chin up. It's not the case, as the unconscious is throughout the whole being, but it's a metaphor most people can relate to. That if you feel like you're in your head, it all, you know, and when, a lot of times when people say they feel stuck, it's often they feel stuck here. They haven't got access to what's below. You know, this is not new. For some of you listening to this now, put a note in the chat box that, yeah, you've heard me say this before. You've heard others say this before, this importance of connecting with the unconscious, the importance of noticing our body sensations and signals. Good. But here's the thing. Even when we're aware that these signals occur and that these signals come spontaneously and that these signals are a signal from the unconscious to say, pay attention, something is happening here. What I've discovered is that for many entrepreneurs, at that point, they're not quite clear on what to do. What's the next step in the process? So working on mastering the ability to notice the signals happens after connecting with the body through various exercises, whether it's movement, dance, yoga, meditation, breathing, anything where you're in your body and connecting with your body physically on a regular basis to open up those filters and open up the door for you to have that connection. Great. Following that, you receive the signal. At that point, there's a requirement to notice the signal. Now that means needing to stop this part of you, the processing that's going on up here. If your eyes and ears are attached to a screen of any kind, computer, television, whatever, if you are deep into conversation and not attached to the more physical part of you, if you are, zoned out and just doing something where you're just so in your head, you're going to miss the signal, or you might pick up the signal and ignore the signal, because the brain is designed to run processes and run patterns and repeat them. It doesn't necessarily like being interrupted. Can you relate to this? Yes, Adeline, you in regards to metaphors, you heard a metaphor today regarding the familiar. A fish does not know it is in water. It is normal for the fish, and it's not aware that other environments exist. Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love metaphors for teaching, for giving us another opportunity to visit a situation from a non-analytical, non-theoretical perspective. And metaphors are so powerful in coaching and in the work we do with NLP. So I love that metaphor, Adeline. If with your permission, I'm going to use that metaphor as well. I really, really like the concept that, we get so into our water that we don't notice we're in the water. We don't notice that there's other environments outside of us, or inside of us. I really like that. Thank you so much. So that's the practice. It's, first of all, getting really acquainted or reacquainted with your physical body through movement, dance, meditation, doing a mindful check-in of all the body parts. There's some really wonderful processes that many of you I know how to do. And doing that on a regular basis. Anytime there's any sort of sensation in your body that's even saying, feeling hungry, feeling thirsty, it's pausing at that moment as that space where you're pausing is the place where there's an opportunity to make a choice to do something different. Let me repeat that. Getting acquainted with your body sensations, noticing when they occur, pausing so that you give yourself space to make a decision, to know that you now have a choice point in order to check in, perhaps, what is the intention? What is it that I'm wanting to achieve right here? What is happening? My body is giving me a signal. What is that body signal wanting to tell me? Now, it's never going to tell you in words. That's the trick. So it speaks in a different language. It speaks in sensations, but there's the way to transform the sensations into a language that bridges the unconscious and conscious. And that's the magic. And that's what we're going to be covering at the next Holistic NLP Cafe. So again, I promised this would be a shorter video today. I hope this has been helpful and helps clarify what this process and practice is. And I sincerely would like to see you all join me at the Holistic NLP Cafe coming up March 9th at 2 p.m. Central. And I want to promise you it's a really high value experience. You will be witnessing demonstrations with participants. There'll be group practices and exercises. You receive a learning guide that you can download and keep as a resource. There is community connections and even a little bit of friendships happening and networking going on as well with some really wonderful, nice people from all over the world. So that's my invitation to you, the listening in. I will post the link for that below. Please be sure to follow us on the YouTube channel, and those links are also in the post, as well as the Expand Your Influence group in Facebook, where a lot of the action is happening, and we're going to be making some big announcements about that pretty soon. So I thank you so much for your time today. Love the feedback. Thank you so much, Adeline, for the reference to that metaphor, and to the Facebook user that I don't know who you are. There's a little step that StreamYard requires that you do so that I can see who you are. I appreciate you for being here and sending you lots of love, and thank you. Until next time, yes, have a wonderful day. Bye for now. Bye-bye.